carrying out a school circuit flight with an Antonov An 2 aircraft. In reality based on original air operations instructions. Personal computer simulator, vehicle simulator, Hangzom.com.
After boarding the plane, we check the following. 1. The position of the air valve and the air pressure. 2. The position of the fuel tap open, in the middle. As well as the amount of Shell 100 petrol, and its distribution according to the tanks. The total volume is at least 300 liters. The difference between the right and left container groups can be a maximum of 150 liters. 3. The ignition switch is in the 0 position, it is switched off. 4. Basic position of instruments, trims, cooling grills, switches and levers. 5. Free operation of the control wheels and pedals.
Before starting the engine, turn on the following switches. 1. Battery switch, middle control panel second ASI. 2. ME3K instrument switch, on the central control panel the 6th AS. 3. Fuel quantity switch, central control panel part 5. 4. Fire extinguisher main switch, central panel, line 2, section 4. 5. Starter motor switch, next to the ignition switch. Before starting the engine, ask the mechanic for permission to start and then start the start. 1. Pull out the lever of the starter motor and crank it up until the current consumption drops to 80 amperes. 2. In the meantime, build up the fuel pressure by hand and use the throttle to inject petrol into the atomizer once, then set the throttle to 1 to 2 centimeters. Three. Press the lever of the starter motor and after the propeller has turned over once, turn on the ignition. 4. After starting the engine, check the oil pressure, it should reach 3 atmospheres within 10 seconds. 5. Turn off the starter motor main switch. Turn on the following switches. 1. Generator switch, central control panel 1. AZS 2. Brake flaps 3 AZSC main switches, central switchboard row 1 stone, 2nd, 3rd AZSC. 3. Trim 3 main switches of AZSC, middle panel, row 1, 4.5.6. AZSC. 4. Oil cooler shutter AZSC main switch, central panel 2nd row 2nd AZSC. 5. AZSC switch of the engine casing swirl plate, middle panel 2nd row 3rd AZSC. 6. Door position indicator switch, middle panel 2nd line 5. ASC. 7. AZSC switch of R860 radio, central board, line 1, 7. AZSC. 8. SCPU7 onboard telephone switch, central board, row 1, AZSC. 9. UZP47 and UZP48 indicator switch, central control panel 7. AZSC. 10. Suction throat thermometer AZSC switch, central control panel 8. AZSC. Check the temperature and pressure values of the engine, adjust the engine and oil cooler shutters as necessary. During this time, the engine speed should be around 1100 revolutions. During engine warm-up, the following values must be achieved. Cylinder head temperature above 120 degrees Celsius. Oil temperature above 50 degrees Celsius. Oil pressure should be 4 to 5 atmospheres. Gasoline pressure should be 0.25 to 0.35 atmospheres. Flaps are released to 15 degrees. Set the altitude trim to the difficult position. Press the switch forward for 3 seconds. Set the rudder trim to the right. Press the trim for about 2 to 3 seconds. Set the propeller adjustment lever forward, at a small angle. We check the position of the engine cooling shutters according to the temperatures. Report to the instructor. Starter switch off. Fuel tap open. Quantities: total tank, left tank, right tank. Trims in takeoff position. Flaps at 15 degrees x degrees. Propeller at a small angle. Additional report to the instructor. Instruments are fine. Cooling belt plate, oil shutter open, or closed. Steering arms are free. Parking brake released. I'm asking for permission to roll. After requesting permission and authorization, we will begin taxiing to the takeoff area. Before taxiing to the takeoff area, it is necessary to check again whether the engine operating data corresponds to the flight operating values. Cylinder head temperature 120 degrees Celsius, recommended 140 degrees C. Oil temperature 50 C, recommended 55 C. Oil pressure 4 to 5 kilograms per square centimeter. Gasoline pressure 0.25 to 0.35 kilograms per square centimeter. If the values are present, after requesting permission on the radio, we can taxi into the takeoff area. Reaching the ascending direction, approximately. We turn on the tail wheel lock at 20 degrees. After reaching the direction, we roll 2 to 3 meters straight ahead so that the tail wheel locks in place. Then we stop and brake the machine. We keep the engine revolutions around 1100 so that the generator charge indicator light does not light up, and then we check the following again. The position of the fuel tap, engine control instrument data, tail wheel holder, flaps position, door indicator light, position of trims, shutter position, the takeoff field and airspace. Ask for permission to take off on the radio. After permission is given, we increase the engine speed to 2000 revolutions per minute due to candle burning. Then we increase the engine suction to 900 mm Hg, fix the throttle, and then start the takeoff by releasing the brakes and turning the rudder to the right. Acceleration on the ground is performed with a hanging tail section, approximately. At a speed of 70 to 80 km per hour, the machine is lifted off the ground. Let's gather speed by going uphill, so that approximately Accelerate to a speed of 140 km per hour until a height of 20 to 25 meters is reached. After starting to climb, at 50 meters, do the following. Take the throttle back to 820 millimeters of mercury, RPM to 1,950 revolutions per minute. Flaps are retracted in 3 steps. Open on cooling racks as needed. Turn off the tail wheel anchor. Review the engine and flight control instruments. Report to the instructor at 50 meters, brake wing in default position, tail wheel unlocked, instruments are fine. Climb to a height of 150 meters and, after gathering speed, perform the first round at a speed of 150 kilometers per hour. During the ascent, monitor the temperature data and adjust as necessary on the cooling racks. When reaching an angle of 45 degrees with respect to the landing signal, the second turn should be carried out in the same way as the first uphill turn at a speed of 150 km per hour. When reaching an angle of 45 degrees with respect to the landing signal, the second turn should be carried out in the same way as the first uphill turn at a speed of 150 km per hour. Before reaching 400 meters, take the plane into horizontal flight and fly at a speed of 160 km per hour. During the transition to level flight, perform. Use the throttle to bring the value of the suction space back to 650 mm Hg. Use the propeller angle controller to set the speed to 1,700 revolutions per minute. Trim as necessary. Recheck operational and flight data. When flying on the long wall at 400 meters, after leaving the line of the landing signal, ask for landing permission on the radio. The third round is started when the landing mark is seen 35 degrees behind the direction of the perpendicular side. Make a horizontal turn at a speed of 160 km per hour. After the end of the third round, depending on the calculation, use the throttle to return the intake pressure value to 400 to 500 mm of mercury. In gliding, We do not take the value of the suction space below 400 mm of mercury. Gliding is done at a speed of 140 km/h. Close the front shutter so that the temperature of the cylinder head does not drop below 120 degrees Celsius. Trim as needed. Perform the fourth round at a speed of 150 km/h so that it is completed up to a height of 250 meters. To this end, it is permitted to perform the turn with throttle in order to reduce the diving speed. After completing the round, the speed should be 140 km/h. Set the propeller at a small angle. Turn on the tailwheel lock. Depending on the calculation, we open the flaps to 15 degrees. After opening the flaps, the gliding speed is 130 km/h. At 30-degree flaps, and above, the speed is 120 km/h. At the same time, the nose of the plane is lowered significantly forwards and downwards. Trim the tail to such an extent that the steering wheel has to be pressed slightly. Unclip the throttle while gliding, then hold the throttle all the way. The glide path should point 50 meters in front of the landing mark. We start recording at a height of 7 meters. When hovering, the vertical distance of the running wheel from the runway is 50 to 30 centimeters. Pull the stick upside down before it hits the ground. In the event of a snap, the height control will not be moved forward. During coasting, keep the direction with your foot using the side rudder, and you can brake several times in the last third of the run out. Before turning, switch off the tailwheel lock. After turning, roll at low speed. Retract the flaps to their default position with the push button. Reset the trims. Put in the cooling shutters and close them. After rolling in, apply the brake, give gas for approximately up to 1,700 revolutions, then take off the gas and stop the engine with the quick stop. Meanwhile, slowly push the throttle forward. After stopping the engine, turn off the ignition, set the throttle to the default position. Set the quick stop to the default position. Turn off the battery switch. Turn off all the switches.